April 5, 2021 is a day that I've replayed in my mind 1,000 times perhaps. The day that changed my life, the day that changed my beautiful wife Chris's life, the day that changed Sherry's life and Jamie's life and everyone associated with us. The day my beautiful Chris had that stroke. And we've talked about that a lot. Here we are, the April 5, 2 years later. And the positive thing and the thing to look at and smile about and be happy about is Chris is alive. Her body is badly damaged. Her body's right as badly damaged as her brain is badly damaged, and that's caused her body not to be able to function the way that it has all of her life. I thought I was under kind of some sort of an obligation maybe to recap a little bit of what's happened. This entire deal played out on social media quite accidentally. We really didn't intend for it to happen that way. When that happened 2 years ago, Chris was doing deer videos here at our ranch with our baby deer and with our pet deer Lucy and Milburn and an orphan baby or two others that we had, and we had triplets, and Chris was doing those videos, and those videos was the most popular videos by far. We've got about 1 million people on our social media, but those videos by far, the ones that Chris did, was the most popular videos we had, much more popular than my fishing videos. And so we eventually had to move the fishing videos to a new channel, Jimmy Houston Outdoors Fishing, and make the ranch channel just the ranch channel. But Chris was doing those videos and doing them every week, and all of a sudden, she was not able to do those videos, and I realized on a Thursday evening that, or maybe it was Wednesday evening, I don't know, but that Chris wouldn't be able to do the videos, and thousands of people would be wondering what's happened, why isn't Chris doing the videos? So I felt like I had to explain why she was doing the videos, and that led to one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen in my life. It led to literally hundreds of thousands of people praying. Many of you are still praying today. It permeated and spread through the fishing industry like nothing I've ever seen happen before. And we had calls and letters and text messages, from emails from really all over the country, from people we knew and people we didn't know that was involved in the fishing industry. I've never seen anything saturate the fishing industry as fast as it did, and it shows you just what a great industry I'm a part of and been a part of pretty much all my life, and how special those people are in that industry. So I just want to recap a little bit about how Chris is. Chris is doing great now. She still can't walk. She's still, her right hand's kind of shriveled up. She can straighten those fingers out. She can't straighten them. She has to do it manually. Can't use that right arm at all. That's why my hair is so long. I made a vow back then that I wasn't going to cut my hair. It wasn't a vow. I just popped off and said it. So it's not a vow. but that I wasn't going to cut my hair until Chris could cut it again, until she could use the right arm. She had cut my hair ever since we were teenagers, a long time ago. And I wasn't going to cut it until she could cut it again herself, and I'd let her cut it. And here we are 2 years later. She has not been able to. She still can't use her right arm. She's getting closer to walking all the time. Her voice is getting closer back to normal. It's still that deep voice, stroke voice, I call it. I've seen so many people have, both men and women, where their voice just seems to change, and the ladies talk like a man, and the men talk like a ghost or a vampire or a spook or something. I mean, they got a weary, devilish type sound to it. I made a statement one time that the devil tried to kill Chris, and somebody said the devil didn't try to kill Chris. That was just a health deal, stroke caused by high blood pressure. And I still believe the devil had a hand in it. I think that one of the things you come out with is you come out with a little bit of a demon voice in there. Chris's voice is getting better, so I'll talk a little bit more about how she's doing. And just wanted to recap a little bit about what happened, because we have thousands of people on here now that was not on here back when that happened. And as I travel around the country, I do about 60 or 70 personal appearances a year at shows and churches and Ranger boat stores, Nitro Tracker boat stores, Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, all over the country, do a lot of personal appearances, and 60 or 70 or 80 a year. The most asked question I get, bar none, is how's Chris? How's Chris? How's your wife? How's Chris? How's Chris? So that's far, far more important than the fishing, far, far more important than what I'm doing out there to try to help Shell Rotella or Quaker State or O'Reilly Auto Parts or Ranger Boat Company. It's far more important in people's mind. How's Chris? How's your wife? I get asked that everywhere. And at the Bassmaster Classic just recently, which I was there just the other day, I did have one or two people say, what is this? What is that? Pray for Chris. What is that? Pray for Chris. It says pray for Chris. And I explained to them what it was. And this is a little rubber wristband that my granddaughter had made. And we sent a lot of them out to a lot of people. We still have them available if you want to wear one. And it just reminds people to pray for Chris. That's exactly what it is. And I explained it to her. And so I realized that we had a lot of people out there that are on social media that when we talk about Chris and her stroke and her taking care of the deer and this, that, and the other, they don't really know what we're talking about. So I thought I'd just recap it just a little bit. And I left here that morning, April 5, 2021, 2 years ago, going to Alabama. I was going to shoot some videos for Southeastern Pond Management. My friends down there, Norman Latona, and I was going to do that one day, and the next day I was going to go turkey hunting with Red Berry, and turkey hunt 2 or 3 days in Alabama with Red Berry. Their season starts before ours does here in Oklahoma, and ours starts April 6th, the one day later, but their season was already on, so I was going to go over there and do that. I left here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Fortunately, my son Jamie and his wife Mandy and my granddaughter Jordan were here. They were down here spending the weekend with us and fishing, and our boat store, Jimmy Houston Marine Kawasaki, is closed on a Monday. So they don't go back when they come down and spend the weekend with us. They don't go back until Monday afternoons or evening. So they were here fishing that weekend, and God made sure they were here because they saved Chris's life. Had they not been here, she would have died before anybody ever knew that she had a stroke. He got a helicopter down here and got her to the Oklahoma OU Med Center almost immediately. He was not in the house when she had that stroke, but she couldn't have had it over 10 or 15 minutes before he walked in there, so it was a very fast deal. I left home that morning. I got up early, and I was leaving here before 7 o'clock. Last time I saw Chris before she had the stroke, she was in the kitchen sink mixing up some pancake batter to make the kids pancakes. They love her pancakes. She makes absolutely the best pancakes in the world. She could be Aunt Jemima. She could be Aunt Jemima. She sure could. But she makes real thin pancakes, and they're smaller, not real big around, and they're just absolutely the best pancakes you ever put in your mouth. And she was making pancakes. The grandkids all want pancakes when they come, and the kids all want pancakes when they come. And she's making that pancake batter, and she said, you better wait and have some pancakes before you drive all that way. And I said, honey, I don't have time. It'll be 30, 40 minutes. I'll be 40, 50 miles down the road by then. And I said, I need to get on the road. She said, you better have some pancakes. And I wish I had it because it wouldn't have changed anything other than I wouldn't have been quite as far down the road and wouldn't have had quite as far to drive back to Oklahoma City. But I didn't. I said, I'll grab me something to eat on the road. She said, you won't. You'll go all day without eating anything. You better eat some pancakes. And I said, no, I'm going to go. And so I took off and drove 646 miles. Sherry called me on the phone and said, Dad, pull over to the side of the road. I said, what happened? She said, you pull over to the side of the road and I'll tell you. And a million things went through my mind, things about her husband, Jack, things about Jamie or Mandy or Jordan or one of the grandkids. Just my mind was racing as I pulled over to the side of the road. I didn't have a boat on. I was going down there. We're not pulling a boat, which is good. Just me and my Ram truck going on another trip. And I pulled over to the side of the road, and she said, Mom had a stroke. I looked at my odometer. I was 646 miles. It indented in my mind that mileage on that odometer. And my first words was, is she alive? And she said, yes, she is, but just barely. It's bad. And I said, I'll be there as quick as I can. She said, Dad, don't turn around in the middle of the interstate. She said, you go to the next exit and turn around. And I said, I'll be there as quick as I can. She said, Dad, I'm telling you, I can't afford for both of you to be hurt. You go to the next exit. And I said, I'll see you as soon as I can, baby. Keep her alive till I get there. And I just looked back and there's nobody coming. I made a sharp left turn down through the medium. I didn't go to the next exit. I don't know where the next exit was anyway. And throwed it in four-wheel drive while I went through the middle, put it back on two as soon as I got on the highway, and drove 646 miles. I stopped one time for gasoline. That's all, one time for gasoline, 646 miles. And it was just all but empty when I did that. And I made it there at 4:30 in the morning. I prayed to God to keep her alive. I said, if you just keep her alive, God, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking anything else, just keep her alive. And I prayed for 646 miles. I cried a river, and I talked to God. And I cried and I talked to God. God, please just keep her alive. She's my life. Keep her alive. I didn't ask him to let her walk or talk or move her right arm. I didn't ask for any of that. I've asked for plenty since. I didn't ask for any of that. All I wanted was beautiful Chris to be alive. And he did. He kept her alive. And when I got there the next morning, it was about 4:30 when I got to the hospital. And Jamie, of course, was there, and Mandy and his best friend, Fireworth Jeffries, and to come up just to comfort Jamie. That's what friends are for. Just to be somebody Jamie could lean on when his mama was dying. And I went into the hospital and into the room. Sherry was there. Beautiful Chris. She was beautiful to me, but she would have sure not been beautiful to anybody else in the world. Machines and wires and tubes and terrible. I mean, but she was alive. And Sherry explained to me how bad it was. And the doctor was coming in a couple hours or something. And so I just held her hand and talked to her. She didn't talk back. And I talked more to God. And somehow he told me he would keep her alive. And then the doctor came in. And the doctor told me what had happened. He showed me the scans that they do on your brain and explained to me what was what. And it's kind of like reading a fish locator. It was pretty easy to understand exactly what he was talking about. And he said that he showed me the picture, and he didn't say, but I could see about 70% of the left side of her brain was destroyed. The left side of your brain controls the right side of your body and your speech. He said that she would never be able to walk again. Probably couldn't talk anymore. I couldn't use her right arm. It'd be pretty much an invalid. He used the word invalid. Not vegetable, but invalid. I've heard the word vegetable used. That's the word that crossed my mind when he said invalid. For the rest of her life, he said, and I don't know why he said it, because I was amazed he even knew we had a ranch. But he said she won't ever get to go back to that ranch. She will have to, if she lives, she will have to live in a nursing home and have 24-hour care for however long she lives. But he said she probably will not leave this hospital alive. Can I tell you, I almost hit him. Sherry could see me tensing up. She took my hand and said, now, Dad. And the thing that crossed my mind, I don't know if I said it to him or not, but the thing that crossed my mind was, I don't see God written on your name tag. I looked at his name tag, and it's some foreign name. I'm sure he's a brilliant man. But it didn't say God. There was no G-O-D on that name tag. And I had already asked God in every way I knew how to keep her alive. Well, God did that. He did that because of my 646 miles praying. He did that because He makes the call of when Chris goes to heaven. That doctor doesn't make that call. He does not have God written on his name tag. And he also didn't take her because, and honestly, we have a predetermined day set by God that we're going to walk on this earth and we're going to live on this earth. And that might have been her that day. But because of the prayers of hundreds of thousands of y'all out there on social media gets a lot of bad rap, and deservedly so in a lot of areas. But it ties a lot of good people together as well. And our little channels on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and had tied a bunch of really good people together. Not only they pray, they had their good people friends pray. And the fishing industry, which is made up of good people, hundreds of thousands praying. And God listened, and God's kept her alive. I don't know how I could ever thank y'all. On my appearances, you come up to me, just person after person after person, saying, I'm still praying for Chris. I'm still praying for Chris. How's Chris? There's no way I could thank you. All I can do is say thank you. I appreciate your prayers, but you don't know how much I really mean that. That's words I know, and words can mean a lot. They can mean nothing. We live in a world where words are, most of the time, not even true when somebody talks to us. But when I say thank you, I appreciate your prayers. You can't imagine how much I appreciate your prayers. I'm not sure that if my 646 miles of praying and talking to God was enough to have God give Chris those extra days, or if God had already predetermined before I said, dear God, if he had already predetermined it, this is not her day, Jimmy. Her day is somewhere out there in the future. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The fact is that God kept Chris alive against all odds, against a, sure, highly educated and very intelligent, probably genius brain surgeon. Those guys don't get there without being smart. And against his prognosis or diagnosis or his thoughts of what would happen by looking at her brain and how bad it was. But it wasn't his call. It wasn't medicine's call. It wasn't education's call. It wasn't genius's call. It was God's call. And God kept her alive. God kept her alive. And I can't thank you all enough for those prayers. My buddies praying for me, people I don't know praying for me, people sending gifts and buying dinners for the people in the hospitals that was taking care of Chris. There was mountains and mountains of love poured out on my family, my beautiful wife. And here we are 2 years later. And I'll just be as honest as I possibly know how. I actually thought that Chris would be totally healed by now. I believe that she'd be walking and talking, moving her arm, cutting my hair. But I knew that was on God's schedule. I knew God would determine when that happened, not me. And that's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what he's doing. And I don't know how much longer it'll be before she walks. Her talking is better all the time. She is much, much better than she was. Those of you who have seen her around at some of the churches that I've carried her to with me lately, you remarked how much better she looks, and she certainly does. Still got a little droop on that right side. It's not coming back up into a full crisp smile. But she's recovered remarkably. She's got a long way to go, but my God's going to heal her. My God will have her walking and talking and have that sweet voice back, which is worth the world to me. I'd trade everything I have for that sweet voice to come back. And I believe that it will. I believe that she'll walk. I believe that she will use that right arm. I believe she'll cut all this long hair off that she doesn't like. She doesn't like this long hair. She doesn't like this long hair, so I believe she'll cut it off. But I just want to thank y'all from the very bottom of my heart. I want to tell you that she's come a long way, and she's continually getting better all the time. She has a lack of faith right now, but I've got enough faith for her, and I put together. That's what I told her. I've got enough faith for both of us, baby. Don't worry about that. She sees improvements, but 2 years is a long time when your body is halfway destroyed like hers is. But God created that body. Those brain cells that are dead in her head, God can bring them back to life again. And I don't know if he's going to bring them back to life, or he's going to heal them, or heal the ones that's damaged, or have her, the other side of her brain learn what the other side knew. I don't know really what's going to happen there. I don't have any idea. But I do know that God is healing Chris. And it's been a journey that's been amazing. A friend of mine, John Cassidy, mentioned something yesterday about the burden that I had gone through, praying for me, praying for strength. And I told him I appreciated that, John, but I don't look at it as a burden. I look at it as a blessing to be able to take care of my beautiful wife, because I asked God to keep her alive. And he blessed me with that. He kept her alive. So taking care of her is not a burden at all. It's a job. It's a hard job. It's difficult. Something I didn't know if I was man enough to do. Probably wasn't man enough to do it. God created in me a new man when he saved me at 12 years old, and he saved a lot of strength and patience and endurance that I've had to use the last 2 years. But it's a blessing for me to be able to take care of Chris because she's alive. And knowing in my heart, soul, and mind that God will completely heal Chris. And I just wanted to catch y'all up on that. Sorry I got a little bit emotional there. Didn't intend to. I keep a bright, positive attitude about everything, you know that, and I'll continue to do that. And Chris is so close to walking. It's amazing. She can walk. She can do all the mechanical stuff. She just can't keep her balance. But once she's able to do that, she's going to be mobile. Guys and girls, 2 years, the 2-year anniversary, we'll see what happens 12 months from now. I think she'll be walking around on this deck out here with me, casting and catching crappie and bass. That's gonna be sweet. That's gonna be sweet. And that's gonna be what's gonna happen too. Remember, I surely love you.